My name is Angelina Steenstra. I'm co-founder, Canadian coordinator to the National Silent No More Awareness Campaign. I'm happy to be with you here today, and I'm happy to stand here with my brothers and sisters who are taking the courage to stand before you and speak to you about the aftermath of abortion. We come before you today as a sign of contradiction. We are a voice that goes against the current mainstream. We come to speak with you today and to share with you our experiences of having had an abortion. The truth must be told. Abortion hurts women and men, brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, mothers and fathers, all our relatives, all our families. It hurts the nation.
I also am here today to tell you my story about my abortion experience. When I was 16, I became pregnant, and I remember the night I told my mother. I remember how upset the both of us were. Soon after that, my parents and I met with a panel of doctors called a Therapeutic Abortion Committee, and it was decided that the best solution would be to have an abortion. To this day, 26 years later, I still have a lot of amnesia when it comes to remembering the details of my abortion experience. My next memory is the day of the abortion. I remember the shame and guilt I felt as I lay on a stretcher in a hospital hall and overheard the nurses talking about my situation. Then I remember waking up in my room after it was finished to find my dad sitting beside me. I was very grateful for his presence, but at the same time I was heartbroken that my mom couldn't be there with me. I returned home that day and we pretended like it never happened. For the next 9 years, I abandoned the Lord and engaged in a lot of destructive behavior, which is very typical of post-abortive women. I drank, I smoked, I did drugs. I lived a very promiscuous lifestyle. It wasn't until I was married at 25 and attempted to start a family that the deeply repressed feelings and emotions surrounding my abortion started to resurface. I miscarried 3 times in the first couple of years of my marriage, which I believe was a result of having the abortion. At that time, I believed I was being punished by God, and I feared that I would never be able to have children. But I know now that God is not a punishing God. After miscarrying yet a 4th time, I'm happy to tell you that my husband and I have been blessed with 4 beautiful children. They are all very supportive of my coming here today to speak the truth about what abortion really does to women, men, and children. God has placed some very special people in my life over the past 16 years who have been instrumental in leading me back to Christ. It took a very long time for me to feel totally forgiven, but I do remember the exact moment that I felt my Heavenly Father's embrace and experienced His mercy and forgiveness.
I just want to let you know that today I'm standing before you because I regret deeply in my heart for my abortion. And in the same time, I know that God had healed my heart. Many years ago, I did an abortion, and I was young, and I didn't have any help. I was suffering, I was alone, I didn't have money. And abortion was just the only door for me at that time. Even if I really love babies, I'm coming from a big family. And I did that against myself almost, you know. And for many years, I was walking with that guilt, with that culpability, with that shame in silence. And last year, I've been here for the first time. I didn't know about the March of Life. And as women was giving their testimonies, God healed my heart. And he was telling me, Chantal, you know that I forgive you. But you have difficulty to forgive yourself. And last year I was here crying before God, and he was healing my heart. And he said, you don't need to walk anymore with that burden and with that guilt, because I forgive you.
I regret the fact that 25 years ago, first of all, I'd like to commend you for defending life. 25 years ago, I didn't do that. I didn't defend the life of my own daughter based on misinformation, selfishness, fear, shame. I let her die to an abortionist's knife. And I died the same day.
Thank you. Almost 33 years ago, I had an abortion. When my fiancé and I discovered I was pregnant, we panicked. We were both afraid to tell our parents. And we weren't quite ready for the responsibility of parenthood. I went to a doctor who referred me to a specialist, and the doctor's appointments were very clinical. They called the abortion a procedure, and they called the baby a blob of tissue. Unfortunately, none of the people I met along the way bothered to talk about other options, nor the consequences of making an abortion decision would have on my life for many years after. So there I was, alone and afraid, in a Toronto hospital. The doctors and nurses were compassionate. After the abortion, I remember waking up with cramps and having pain, and the nurse gave me something for the physical pain, but nobody knew how much I was suffering emotionally and how deep that pain was. It wasn't long after the abortion that my fiancé and I broke up, and we just went our separate ways. We never spoke about it again. So I tried to get on with my life, but strange things began to happen to me. I remember feeling detached from my body, like I was having an out-of-body experience. My self-esteem plummeted. I started going to bars, dating abusive men, and I felt depressed. At 21, I married, and a few years later, I divorced. For almost 10 years after the abortion, my life was a mess. Work and food became my escape. I now understand that I was suffering from post-traumatic stress triggered by the abortion.